No one ever told me that grief felt so like fear. C.S. Lewis. Bending, Not Breaking. A mini episode. As you can tell, we are working through some weird times today. The podcast team is working diligently to provide you with content, but we are also doing our best to abide by the guidelines of the CDC and other health organizations, and we hope to take this time to create some mini episodes for you a little bit more regularly now, and hopefully we'll finish out this season soon. One thing that will help us in this time is supporting us on Patreon at thearkofe. Please help us out if you feel compelled to do so, but also no worries at all if money is not a way you can contribute at this time. You can also give us a review on iTunes and tell us how we're doing. You can even send us a voicemail at thearkofe@gmail.com. All that being said, let's get to the content. Today, as this episode is released, there are approximately 2.6 billion people around the world that are experiencing lockdown. To put that into perspective, that is more people under lockdown today than there were people alive during World War II. 6 feet apart is the new invisible boundary we are all expected to live by. 6 feet has a different connotation for me. It evokes the idea of 6 feet underground. As social beings, neurobiologically wired for connection, the impacts of these 6 feet are real and expansive. At first, I wasn't sure what emotion I was experiencing in this lockdown. I felt fear that people are dying and that I might get sick. I felt scared that my health insurance was tied to my ability to work. I felt terrified that I wouldn't be able to pay my bills. I felt annoyed with people who were hoarding toilet paper, frustrated with people who weren't observing social distancing. I also felt like I had lost something important, my routine. I lost the things that were keeping me busy, keeping my mind from being numb. I miss my mind being numb from the busyness. On the other hand, I've also felt joy. The first loaf of sourdough bread baked was a success. The slow fermentation of kombucha, the probiotic sodas that have been delightful to learn how to make. I've read books, I've played the piano, I've started a character development class, and I have felt all the things. I realize, though, that the dominant emotion I have felt has been grief, due to profound loss. I felt like Aang in Season 1 as he approached the Southern Air Temple. I was in denial, not believing the news or the people in my life telling me that the virus would be a problem, much like Aang didn't believe Katara and Sokka about the air nomads and the mass genocide that they experienced. But also like Aang, I felt incredibly angry in the face of the proof that things were real. However, rather than going into the Avatar state, I felt everything mentioned before. But instead of Katara connecting me to my grief and pulling me out of my anger, I found solace in this wonderful show. This story has given us a path to emerge from this COVID-19 pandemic. Stories hold our past, myths hold our truth. I see a story of struggle and hope in Aang's journey, and we see a story of self-sacrifice. Aang is putting the world before himself. The sacrifice brings balance to the world. I see people making sacrifices all day if I pay attention, by staying home. I see it with healthcare employees and all the essential workers being on the front lines of this crisis. That is sacrifice. I see children and teens putting the world ahead of themselves by staying home. I learned from Aang and many other characters and stories and myths that people are inherently good. And if we all do our part like Aang, balance can be restored. This has been Bending Not Breaking, a mini episode. Thank you for listening.